Uh, Welcome to OpinioNate. I am here today with our current mayor of Hazleton, Jeff Cusat. Going to do a little talking and discussing, and let's see what he's got to say. Like I said, I didn't air any of the previous ones because I wanted it to be kind of fair for everybody, and so get a clean. Anyway, let's get started. We might as well get started here. Okay. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Good. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
According to some folks, you and I are best friends. We hang out. Gosh.
I did hear that.
Have you heard that once or twice? So we won't waste any time. I got a bunch of questions lined up for you here. In talking with the other folks, and I've said this to you when we talked about you coming, because you asked me about, the interviews with them. And I said, there's a lot of dreaming going on out there. I want to do this and I want to do this and I want to do this without getting into particulars. But I think that when they get in there, they find out why, maybe you wanted to do a bunch of those things too. And then you find out why you can't, or why it's hard, or why it takes money, or why you can't get the money. So whatever. So now we got the guy here that could tell us, and I think we'll maybe clear up some stuff. So we'll start with, can you tell me and the folks what kind of government the city has? Like, what is it called? What is it?
We are a third-class city, optional Plan B.
Okay.
Which is a strong mayor form of government. We're the only optional plan of government left in Pennsylvania.
Oh.
It was created back in 1988. It took effect under Quigley. There was a government study commission that came in and studied the city, how it was run. They got suggestions of what they wanted, what the people wanted, and they put together this form of government.
Okay.
So we're very different from other forms of government, where I run the city as a legislator, almost like the president. City council, their function is to basically allocate taxes and pass legislation. There's a big difference, like a separation of powers. So
right.
It's much different than other forms of government. We're not like a township or a borough. And then on top of it, our charter they defer a lot of the powers from council to the mayor under our charter for the city too. Okay. So it's much different than any other form of government you would see. Some people say, well, why do you do this? Why do you do that? How come other places have to do this? And it's all in our charter. Our charter is
that's the way it's set up.
It's very specific.
That's the way it is.
Yes.
So when I'm out and about and they're saying, he's doing shit that you're not supposed to be doing on his own, and I said, well, I don't think he'd be doing it if he couldn't be doing it. I mean, that's the way So that's what makes sense.
No, and that's anytime there's a question come up, you ask the solicitor. The solicitor will give you the opinion, right. what support you need.
Gotcha. So, and can that be changed at any time, or is that something
it can be, but it's a long process. Again, okay. You have to get support to put a government study commission back together. Then that would have to be voted on by the public at the next election. So they would vote yes or no if you want it, and then members of the city would be chosen at the same ballot to be the government study commission. So it's a long process, but it has happened. The last time it was done was 1986.
Oh,
and it took place in 1988.
And that was Quigley.
Yes. So John Ford was the mayor at the time. He became mayor in 86. They started the government study commission, and then in 88, Quigley took over under this new form of government.
And why? So did John Ford only have 2 years, or had he been?
He actually only served 2 years as mayor.
Oh,
yes, 2 years as mayor.
And was that his choice, or is that?
No, that was the government study came in, and we changed the form of government, and he
was ousted.
Yes.
Wow. Was there another election, or how did Quigley get in? Do you know?
He ran against John Ford in 88. And John Quigley beat John Ford in 87 to take office in 88.
I was in Nashville at the time, so I remember coming in to visit, and I actually knew John Ford pretty well, and I remember when he was mayor, but I didn't know about all that other stuff because I wasn't here.
I think I was in 5th grade.
You didn't have to go there, Jeff. The city purchased the high school as the new public safety building, like, in other words, I guess like a police barracks.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how there's a lot of stuff out there about that. So how was that funded?
We used American Recovery money, the ARPA money, to use it to fund the purchase. The ARPA was money that was given by the federal government,
Okay.
as a grant. So
Okay.
grants are they're looked over by the administration. So once the money comes to the city, the administration, as long as we're administering the grant according to those guidelines, that's all we need to do. You know, we did get together. Like when I first came up with the idea, I asked.
Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff like that. Yeah.
So I introduced it because I didn't want none of this. He knew first. He knew that. So we put together a PowerPoint presentation. I invited city council, the fire department, the fire companies, and the police department all into up to the fire station, and I gave a PowerPoint presentation. Everybody asked me questions, especially Jack. Jack Mundy asked questions that day. We explained stuff to them, and the intention originally is, and long term, hopefully still is, the police are going to be in that building now,
Right.
with the intention of making a north side fire station connected to it, on the corner of 13th and Sherman Court. So that in the long term, that is the plan. So they were well aware of it. And then months later, it was brought up at the city council. They asked, like, yes, I put a 1% good faith deposit on the building. I explained that to city council at the meeting. Again, I was asked questions, and I told them, and we set a closing date of no later than December 31st of 2023. So everybody was aware of the project. Maybe they weren't, day to day, how far along are we? But we came to an agreement, and once we kind of had funding in place, we made the purchase. So we did close on it on Monday.
Right.
So the building is ours.
Right.
So we are slowly moving the police department into that building.
Now, is there going to be jails there?
There's holding cells.
Holding cells.
So right now you basically a municipal.
So a locked iron door with a window or something.
No, they're basically rooms. They're small rooms with benches.
Okay.
And that's where we house. That's what we use now to house, because we don't keep. The municipalities don't keep overnight prisoners.
Okay.
If it's, usually it's 8 hours, or you send them up to the county. We don't keep overnight prisoners.
Okay.
It's not like on TV where you put somebody in.
Yeah.
You
don't have Otis in there on the weekend.
No.
Now that would be fun. That would be fun. All right. What else have you used that money for? Like examples of
the ARPA money in general. I mean, we've used a lot of the money for public safety. We bought that armored personnel carrier, the rescue vehicle. We bought the flock camera system with it.
Oh. On Alta Street,
it's the one. The flock is the one. There's 60 cameras that surround the city.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Oh, it's license plate readers. You know all about license plates.
Oh, I do.
and the VIN.
I have a VIN plate
making
machine.
Yeah. So it reads the plates. It doesn't take video. It reads every plate coming in. So there's not one way in or out of the city without your license plate getting read. Now nobody is monitoring that unless you put the license plate into the system.
Oh.
So if there's an Amber Alert, a stolen vehicle,
then you can go in and
license
look.
plates, hit and runs.
Very cool.
So it's one of the.
Did you guys get an opportunity to use it?
We used it hundreds of times. Actually, I just was at the Pennsylvania Municipal League down in Bethlehem, and myself and Captain White gave a presentation to all the other mayors that were at the conference on how to utilize it. I mean, it's state of the art. It's a wonderful system. Stolen vehicles, it dings to your phone. So we utilized it for that. We created the City View Park, the inclusive playground. Half of that was funded. The Roosevelt Park was funded out of there. So we're utilizing our ARPA money for a lot of city-centric projects. Stormwater, paving, some equipment.
People are asking about the funding for the playgrounds and where you're getting the funds from. So that's ARPA money
most
as well.
Most of it comes from, like this year we used a lot of ARPA because in there was for creation of open air space.
Yeah.
After coming right out of COVID, federal government wanted places for people to get outside. So create open space. So there were 7 categories to utilize the money.
Right.
So open air space and public safety were my 2 big things. I also bought the 3 fire engines utilizing
That
the ARPA
17
money.
million or whatever.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
So then a lot of the other money, usual playgrounds are used for community development funds, which are federal money that can only be utilized in certain areas of the city, depending on family incomes. So there are a lot of projects that we will do with that money, but then other places are neglected, like the Heights, the Terrace. That you can't use CD money up there because they're not low-income families. So like all the playgrounds have gotten some tender love and care, except for like Lom Avenue right now, because that's not in CD area. But we are trying to help the school up there through LSA grants build their own playground. So even though we're not doing that playground, we are trying to help them with that playground. And we will get to it. We have 16 parks and playgrounds in the city.
Wow.
And we are trying to renovate them all. We started.
So you'd have to use like city money to fix those, or some money from some other place.
It's hard to come up with. I mean, that's why when the ARPA money came out, we said we're doing all city-centric projects. Anything that I foresee that we would need in the next 5-10 years, that's what we were focused on. And we bought a street sweeper, a shop vac, a vector truck to handle stormwater management. We put up the salt shed. I don't know if you've seen that. It's a huge white building behind the DPW. That's was paid for with that money. Now we'll actually save more money by buying larger amounts of salt, and we won't run out. Before we could only get so much salt in. The shed nowhere to fill. Right. So now we have a huge, and it's all these projects that we want that are not being funded by property tax.
Yeah,
so that's what's important.
That's terrific. I asked Vinay how about the CDBG funds, and he didn't even know what they were.
It's federal money that we get according to population. So last year, I think we got like $650,000, and it could only be used for certain projects in certain areas. So we have been in the past utilizing some for demolition, paving, and playgrounds are the main 3 things that we use for.
Paving the streets.
Okay. We did a lot.
Let's talk about that. Yeah. I in talking with one of the candidates about that, there was a thing with 8 to 10%. If you did that per year, can you kind of break that down for me and tell me
8 to 10%? That's
8% of the roads can be done with the money that you're already getting, without giving away who said it or what it was totally about. But
so
yeah,
paving.
just tell me how many miles of roadway do we have in this city?
The city consists of 114 miles of road.
Okay.
We are responsible for 99 of it.
Because it's state highways.
Broad
15th Street, yes. Broad Street, Diamond Avenue.
Half a Diamond Avenue.
Half a Diamond Avenue, because
Poplar Street and the Beltway.
Okay.
So
if they have a state route number, the state has to take care of that.
The state takes care of it.
Gotcha.
So we have 99 miles that we're responsible for.
Okay.
It costs about $30,000 to $40,000 per block, depending on how big the project is. Startup costs for your mobilization, but it's about $30,000 to $40,000 per block. There's 24 to 26 blocks per mile, so it costs about $800,000 to do a mile of road. So now you're talking 70, 80 million dollars to pave the entire street. Now we have paved more this year than ever in the city's history. That's
because you're up for re-election.
I started 5 years ago. So we have been spending a lot of money because we have ARPA money available. So what we're doing is under ARPA, you could fix stormwater issues. So we did get together with some of the utilities, and we're taking the crowns out of the road. So we were able to spend more money. But a typical year, when I first came in office, there was $0 in the general fund for paving.
Zero.
So we used $200,000 of liquid fuels, $200,000 worth of community development. So $400,000 was all we paved. So that would get you about a half a mile of road.
Oh, half a mile.
8 to 10% is crazy. But now, up to this point in my the last 6-7 years. We have spent almost 13 million. I have another 3 million planned for next year, and it covers about, right now we have about 44 miles of newly paved road in the city.
Wow.
So we have more paved roads than any other municipality. Actually, at the mayor's meetings, they're very jealous of how many streets we have paved. Nobody paves like we're paving. And we did a lot of paving during COVID because the state contracts were canceled. So I got better rates. So at that point, what I did was I put out big projects, and I used the liquid fuels money, and I allocated future. That's how I was able to do the terrace. And then we got an LSA grant for the heights. We used half of that, and then we also used future allocations of community development, because I was getting it done so cheap 2 years ago that there was no way you could pass it up. So we've done
advantage of that. Yeah,
we did a lot, and we just met this week to talk about what we're going to do next year. And we're trying to put together a 20-year paving plan. So that's why you see us doing chunks. So then in the future, after
where you're going after
everybody in future, ideally I'd like to see $2 million per year put in the general fund, so we could do a nice section, because a good paved job should last 20 years in certain areas. Now the high volume traffic, it's not going to be hold up, but and then we're trying to work with the utility companies. So this year, we started. I think we did the northeast section is getting finished up now, and we started some of the central west over there. And next year we're looking to do the northwest after UGI finishes their projects, and the SOAR Authority are working down there. So then we should have all the streets done. Then we're going to start working on some of the numbered streets, which they're a little bit harder. They're beat up. We know they're beat up, but we're trying to get the main thoroughfares done first, and then we can come back and try to do the courts and alleys, in the future with like an overlay, because they're not traveled as heavy. You don't get the heavy trucks in the alleys, so you could kind of.
That's the only place I don't notice a problem now.
They are bad,
but some of them are good. They redid this over here.
Yes.
By me, only to 19th Street, though. They didn't go further down, which has our girl a little bit miffed, Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. But, the car that I drive is very low to the ground.
Yes.
I bought one of those, the first one in 2016, and it has progressively gotten better every single year for me driving that car. I used to play dodgems, and it just isn't that way anymore. I have to say. I mean, if it's you, whoever it is, it's better.
Well, what we did,
I don't care what anybody says, and I'm all over the city.
In 2016 and 17, the plan was which streets are the main traveling roads. So I think we started with Vine Street and Laurel Street, because when you come into town, if you don't take 309, you go over and you shoot that way. We did Carson Street. So we did the streets that coming through town were the most utilized streets.
So in the general fund now, you said when you came in there was nothing. What's in there now for roads?
So we put $200,000 for paving. And there's $200,000 for stormwater.
Okay, got it.
So then there's about $200 in liquid fuels, and about $200 in CDBG. So we do have about $800,000 per year in regularly coming in.
Gotcha. What about the liquid fuels money? How much money are we talking about?
It's about $800,000 we get per year.
Okay, and that comes from people buying gas.
Gasoline tax. Yes.
Gotcha.
So what we did a couple of years ago is I bought equipment when interest rates were really low during COVID. We bought some equipment. So we have payments out of that. It pays for the rock salt, the street lights, some pothole patching, a little bit of street repairs, anything that's utilized for that they could justify gas tax.
Gotcha. The block grant funds, what are they again?
That's the CDBG. We get, I think, $635,000 last year. We got, again, it's some of it goes to administration, but a majority of it goes to paving, playgrounds, and demolition.
How much money in grant money since you're mayor has the city got?
Well, I know.
What'd you say?
We did a calculation back in May, and it was nearly $100 million in grants, federal projects, federal funding, and stuff like that. I mean, like we got some nice big chunks.
How do you go get that? Who does that for you?
Yeah, I wish I had a full-time grant. We tried to advertise for a full-time grant writer, and we never could find one.
Oh,
So we write our own. A lot of us, the department heads, write their own grants. The engineering firms will reach out to engineering firms who specialize in projects. If they write the grant and we're successfully getting it, they get the project.
Oh. Well, that gives them some incentive, right?
Yeah,
there. Yeah. So they're going to go get everything they can get.
We just got 2 grants about 2 weeks ago. Now we got $37,000 for a comprehensive plan to do Columbus Park over, so I can make a nice complex down there. That's the old Pagnotti Field, and
Where is that?
it's behind Diamond Avenue.
Yeah,
So
where Columbus is.
no, that's Memorial
Church.
Park. That's
Okay.
Memorial
All
Park. Diamond Avenue behind the old Boyers, like it's Dollar General now.
The old A&P
Yeah,
when I was a kid.
So the Pagnotti Field. So
I used to go
we got money to get a comprehensive plan. So what they'll do is they'll ask everybody in the area, what they want to see there. So we could do a nice big complex there.
Oh, cool. Great.
And then we also got $350,000 to do the soccer field on Pine Street. That's the thing that people think is a hockey rink. It's actually it's a mini soccer field, artificial turf
On Pine Street.
Pine Street. Yep. And then we just got one for the hockey rink to redo the hockey rink over. So we're trying to touch every sport, everything. So we've been working really hard, but we've brought in almost $100 million.
That's
in
crazy.
8 years.
That's awesome. It's been said by more than one person that you got us into Act 47, and now you're bragging because you got us out of it. Talk about it.
Okay, so Act 47 takes years to get into. You need to basically fail at least 2 of the 11 they call them qualifications.
Okay.
But we've had several. So 2016, I just came out of an election. Of 2015 for the 16 budget. I came out of an election where I beat Jack Mundy. He was the president of the council. They put together a horrible budget for me going in. So in January, so when you take office in 16, I could actually put another budget out. And I'm like, oh, this is the budget you gave me. I'll work with it. So we struggled all through 16. Going into 17, I knew we were not going to make it because we were $850,000. The budget was $850,000 short. There was no way for me to get back around to make payroll in December.
Right.
So I looked into Act 47. Act 47 is a great tool. We've got millions of dollars out of it. If interest-free loans, grants, computer systems. So there's so much that we got out of it. I'm like, I don't see what the downfall is. So I signed us up for Act 47. And we worked with the coordinators.
It sounds like Chapter 11. You hold everybody back and then regroup and be able to take in money, get money.
It's not. It's kind of like that, but you get thrown to the front of grant lists.
Right.
So it's not any kind of act. It's not any kind of bankruptcy. Because people say we're bankruptcy.
Yeah.
No, see, governments could never go bankrupt because you always have taxation backing. So you could always raise taxes to pay for. So you can't actually go bankrupt. But it was like an early intervention. And then Act 47 is the intervention where they come in and they ask you what you think you need to make the city successful. They put it into a plan. I think it was like 87 parts to our plan.
Right.
When we got out, we had 81 of them complete. The other 5 or 6 were deemed not necessary at the time, when we were leaving. So we completed it, and we were one of the fastest out, and we're doing wonderful right now.
Where are we? That was my next question. Financially, where's the city?
Well, we paid off some debt early. There's one. Well, we have 2 loans left. One's 0% interest, so why pay it off? The other one was a refinance that had 2 balloon payments left. So we have 1 loan left that we owe like $1.1 million on. But the interest rate on that is lower than I'm getting at the banks now. So again, there was no reason to pay that off, or we would have.
And what was that? I mean, when was that made, and why?
It was in 2018.
Okay.
It was to consolidate the other because the interest rates were lower, so we consolidated. I think it was a 2002 note, a 2005, in 2012. So we consolidated. So we'll basically we'll basically be debt free if we want it to be. You know,
Okay.
so we're in good shape. Actually, we have a surplus fund right now.
I was just going to ask you. I heard that there's some kind of a surplus fund, and I wanted to ask you about it.
Every year, we used to sell our delinquent taxes, which I hated, because you're basically selling something. It's basically
and then they go after.
And then they
people,
go after.
Right,
so it's a waste of like $50,000 to $80,000 a year just to get that, and then we would still get a tax anticipation note, and you pay the interest on it. So my plan was to always try to build a fund that we could give ourselves the $1.5 million starting each year. And then so now we're close to $1.5 million. Maybe we're sitting in $1 million, but the goal is to get to 1.5 million. So we don't have to take a loan next year. So if we wanted, we pay ourselves the interest and let that fund grow. So that's where we're at. So hopefully at the end of the year, we're at the 1.5 million, because I hate to borrow money.
And where did that money come from? Just money that you didn't spend from tax money.
We did a lot of
cool. How do you feel about police walking the street, Jeff?
I love it. I mean, and we try to do it every time we can.
All right.
Here's the problem. So we're at good numbers now, but we'll get back to that. But we were down to 38 cops. So in the summer months, there's 3-4 guys on a shift. You can't walk the street and be that far away from your vehicle with 3 guys on the shift.
Right.
So we still, if we have a shift now, like everybody takes their vacation time when it's nice. So now we might have 6-7 guys now. So we will. We've been spending a lot of time at the playgrounds lately. If officers go hang out at the playgrounds, walk around there, walk off the street occasionally. But it's all depending on the staffing you have.
Well, sure.
I would love it. I would love to have the police be able to interact with them all the time on a regular basis. We just don't have the number of police officers it takes to do that. So we were down to, I believe it was at 36 or 38 when I took office. And then we were lucky. We got the COPS grant. Then we got another COPS grant.
I was just going to ask you about those.
We actually got the largest COP grant in Pennsylvania a couple years ago. I think it was 4 years ago. We got 1.4 million, the largest one they gave out, and we had to get our police officers to 46. So it was paying for number 43, 44, 45, and 46. Okay. So we finally got to that number. So once we expend that money, we'll be able to apply for another one. You can't apply for one while you have the other one. So right now, currently, we have 48 officers, which is the highest we've ever had in the city history, and we have 3 more cadets in school. So we actually have 51.
And what does the grant pay their salaries, you mean, or how does that work?
The COPS grant pays their reimburses for their salaries.
Right. For those officers. For 2 years or so. Oh, so then what?
Then they become part of your.
Oh, then they're on your.
Then you're
shit.
On us.
Okay.
So, but then we do have the cadets, because some people ask me about the cadets. We're paying for people to go to school. Well, there's a grant for it. The state pays back half the tuition, and I don't know if it's 75% of their salary while they're going through school. So, but we were very, very lucky. We got eight cadets out of the last graduating class.
It's awesome. I hesitate to say this word because it's one of those words that makes me just go bing. But I understand in this country that the biggest drag on cities and school districts are pensions.
Yes.
I don't think that everyday citizens know what the school district, I can't even talk about it. I'm going to do a podcast just on that when this election is over. I'll probably end up closing my restaurant at that point because they first of all, they'd block me anyway because of the things that I say in the school district. And don't get me wrong, I love teachers. I have 8 family members, I think, that were or are teachers. And some of them are part of the folks that have made out very well with this pension thing. But I don't think that the people of Hazleton understand what it costs them to do it. I'm all about pensions. Listen, if you're, because I'm a capitalist, right? So if you work for a company and you put money in, and your company matches that money, then at the end, when you retire, that's what you're getting. It didn't cost me anything. I mean, it may have cost me when I bought their product or their service or their thing. I get that, right? It had to cost somebody something. We don't print money. Only the federal government does that. But when you're talking about that, the school district's pension plan went bust 25 years ago or 30 years ago. How could it not when they're getting 105% of their salary, some of them? And that's what they're getting until they die. It's great. It's insanity when you have people who work their whole life for a house and now can't afford the taxes to stay in the house. So I'm done. Talk about the city's pensions and where we are, please.
The pension, like when I came in, we were severely
So sorry.
We were considered severely distressed.
Right.
We were funded like 48%. Now we're over 80. Like we've done very well getting our pension back to where it needs to be.
How do you change that? People dying.
Well, not really dying. People are leaving. Some of the people leaving before they get a pension. We made some really good investments with the money. The MMO, actually, the Act 205 EIT came in higher than expected, so we have some extra money going in that way. But it cost us more in pension than it does for current employees.
Absolute operation. I believe it.
It's hard.
I believe it. It's, they were set up at a time when money was just flowing, and they could do this. I mean, or they thought they could. I don't know, but it's just like I said, it's not that people don't deserve it. Especially that worked for the city, police officers, firemen, whatever they did for the city. I'm sure that they are entitled to that money. I really feel that way. But at the same time, it's a huge drag.
It's hard to make.
Drag. What kind of dollars are we talking about? Do you have those numbers or no?
I want to say it was somewhere around $6 million a year. Our MMO was like $6 million a year.
Oh my God!
So we're responsible, I believe, for 21.4% of that, which it's like 1.4 million.
Oh, and where does the rest come from? The state?
Or? We have to come up with it. So it's we do get some. The Act 205 EIT tax pays over 4 million of it. We get about $1 million a year from state aid. You get so much per current employee, and then the city's responsibility is 21.4%. So we do need to come up with like 700,000 out of the general fund each year, or another way to pay in. So it's a big burden because it falls on the tax, but the tax, your EIT tax. So a lot of that, I think it's 0.75% of your wages actually goes to the pension. So a lot of that, because we pay like 1.25% in earned income,
right?
0.75 of that goes to the pension. The other 0.5 goes to the city. And then we have to make up the rest. So it's a lot. Because our general fund, which is made up of mostly property tax, only brings in like $6 million. $6 million is basically our tax revenue from property tax, 6.2 million or something. It's not that much.
And that's where the budget comes from. 90% of it.
Most of it comes from the taxes.
Right.
Our police department costs about $6 million a year, just to have our police department. So the rest comes through permits, fees, EIT tax, some transfer tax, stuff like that. But a bulk of it, so when you say where do I get for my property tax? The property tax we collect doesn't even cover the cost of just the police department.
That EIT tax, that's the 2% on the payroll?
It's
because that's the one I just.
So the 2%, 0.5 goes to the city. 0.5 I think goes to the school district. 0.75 goes to our pension. So it's broken up. So we don't get the whole.
Gotcha. I just got done paying that because my it was screwed up last year on my personal.
Depending on where you live,
paycheck.
It's a different number.
Yeah, and I had to write them a big old shit. And so I just wondered. I knew that the city, because there used to be something else that actually costed me more money. What was that one? What did it replace?
We did the PPT. Probably talking about the mercantile tax.
Yeah.
Which everybody, ever since that went into place, they talked about getting rid of it.
Yeah.
So last year we were finally. I eliminated the mercantile tax. We eliminated the per capita tax to $10, the resident tax at $5. We got rid of the rental registration tax.
Yeah, because that mercantile, man, that was 1% of every dollar I put in my checking account. Right?
0.1. It's
0.1.
0.1, yeah.
I ran into some money.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was a hard check to write.
It brought about $400,000, $500,000 per year into the city.
Oh, wow.
So,
but my VIN plate making machine doesn't take in that kind of money, so
you got to raise the price a little bit. If you have the only one,
just throw that in there just one time.
But
yeah.
So there's not a lot of options, like for taxes. Now this year we are hoping that we could possibly lower the Act 205 because of our MMO. So we're looking at a tax decrease in the earned income tax. So if everything goes well, we maybe see that earned income tax go down a little bit, depending on what the MMO comes in at the end of the year.
That Hazel Township building is my old alma mater, man. Even when Kenny owned it, I used to love to go in there and just look around because I felt it like when I walked in, even though it was so different and beautiful. And
it's going to be a great deterrent. You come into the city, the first thing you see is the police department. It's strategically placed 0.5 miles to Hazel Township, 0.9 miles to West Hazelton. Right on so you'd be able to cut through.
Yeah, it sounded like a good move to me. I don't know how the hell they're going to get in and out of there. That alley is, but
they can park on the street too in the front, and we're going to switch some one ways out.
Oh, okay.
But there's going to be some more. I mean, the only reason is not to move the police department out of the city hall. We'll be making an announcement early next week on what will be coming into City Hall. It's going to be something great for all of Southern Luzerne County.
Because you're making room.
I'm making room. Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are happening.
Terrific.
So it's not.
We can't talk about today.
No, I have to actually wait.
Right.
I have to wait till Friday afternoon to.
That's all right.
To let it out.
That's right.
But there's it's not just we're not just buying a building to buy a building.
Gotcha.
You
have a plan.
There's a lot going on with a lot of things. So good.
What else you got? Anything you want to talk about?
I'll talk about anything.
My biggest people ask me all the time why in the hell I came back to Hazelton.
It's a great
from
community.
Nashville. It's I don't know if you keep up with anything or hear anything that I do on Facebook, but it pisses me off when people rag Hazelton bad. Like, either don't live here. If you don't live here, shut up. It's not as bad as you think. It's just not. It's just the most people that say that either are racist and bigots against the Latinos. And I don't use those words casually. They are what they are. Or, they just want to rag on. They don't know what's out there. Like, Hazelton's the only place they've ever lived. It's not what it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. I was born and raised 2 blocks from here on 20th between Locust and James. That was my homestead after I was 6 years old. And when I came back to Hazelton from Nashville, it was very different. Very different. What people don't get is the world is different.
Yes.
The whole world is different. It's not what it used to be. It just isn't. It's not going to be that way. It has nothing to do with who's running the city. It has nothing to do with who's coming into the city. It just doesn't. The world is different. People don't plant gardens anymore. Those people died. Okay? I know people that think that that Boyers produces the meat. They don't want to kill a deer because they rather go to Boyers where they produce the meat. I mean, they just don't understand. They're too young to understand what used to go on here. And they were awesome times. Don't get me wrong. They were awesome times.
There's a lot of people that want to be here.
It's over.
And if they didn't want to be here, we wouldn't have the population boom we have. And we're a house shortage here.
Yeah.
Where,
Well, yeah, that's what we need.
but,
That's the only problem that we seem to have, is that the people coming here don't have anywhere to go, and that the prices are exorbitant.
That's the one big thing, that the biggest concern we have going forward is safe residential homes,
Yeah.
or apartments, because people are coming here and they're illegally converting attics and basements.
Oh yeah.
Which don't have windows,
exits,
or proper size with exits.
Or exits.
You know, so that's what's very dangerous.
Yeah.
And they're paying an exorbitant amount of money. So we're trying to work with developers. Like, we do have a developer I'm working with now for 300 townhomes and 196 apartments out like the Club 40 Road, like out that way.
And that's Hazleton, yeah.
That's Hazleton, yes. Yeah. You know, we're going to create David Avenue up in the Heights. It's a paper street that connects the Heights Terrace out to Broad Street.
Oh.
So when I put that road in, it's actually going to create 2 new housing developments that can be put in. You know, so we're working with everybody we can to try to put residential properties in. You know?
Right.
I mean, I know there's some ill feeling about the St. Joe's Hospital, but
let's talk about that a little bit. Yeah, that's very interesting, because that building either needs to be used or torn down. Period. The end. Done. And when I saw the thing, I was like, man, that sounds great. If parking's the issue, and I didn't think it was, then put up a parking garage or do whatever you have to do. Or, you know, there was a hospital there. All these people worked there and went there and visited there, and they made it work somehow. Let's, you know, make this thing happen, Jeff.
I don't think anybody was more excited than me when we first heard about it. But they want to put 192 units. It has nothing to do with the parking.
Okay.
We could get around the parking issue.
Okay.
They want to put 192 units in that building.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the minimum, according to our zoning ordinance, the minimum residential property is 750 square feet.
Which is very small.
Which,
anyway,
it's not large, but you can manage it.
You can live in there, yeah. I mean, I'm sure they rent them down Providence Place that are a little smaller than that, yes. Even. And
so you know, the proposal came in, and a majority of those rooms are 330 square feet. That's like a hotel room size. So that's a lot is where a lot of the problem is coming in.
And that's a kitchen, a bathroom, and a room.
They're basically like hotel room, efficiency rooms.
Oh, okay, an efficiency.
Maybe.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
330 feet is 32 by 10. You know,
yeah.
Or 16,
or 50,
16 by 20 by 16.
Right.
I mean, that's your living room. So it's
that's a whole.
And you know, like, I want to develop. We want to work with them. We brought the developer in. We met with the senator, the Congress office, in which we were trying to work something out. So it's not a dead issue,
right?
But we need to be safer. You know, I don't. If you want to make a hotel, an extended stay hotel, it's different.
Oh.
But if you're looking for 192 apartments, basically 500-600 people living in that building, you know, that's
an extended stay hotel.
It might be a little bit different, but you know, the developer needs to be a little, you know, flexible.
Yeah. What they can't make the money work if they cut the rooms in half. If they double the size of the room, they can't double the size of the rent. And that's, what kind of money are they talking about? Do you know?
It's probably about $35 million project.
No, I mean charging rent for those 330 square. Do you know? Are they even saying or no?
No, I haven't had any official. You know,
you don't have those numbers. Yeah.
No, I think I know what they're thinking.
But you can't double it and then have the money, the dollars worth. Maybe.
But I would like to see it develop. It just, you need to have safe places for people to live.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
Yeah. Oh, you know what I wanted to talk about? The dump. Let's talk about the dump, Jeff. Could it happen, or are you for it, against it? Because that's important.
Well, the transfer station. So one thing people have to realize is everything is allowed in the city somewhere.
Okay.
According to the law, you have to let somebody. So when it came out, I couldn't say nothing about the proposal because you get sued. If I come out and say we're against that, we don't want that.
Right. Well, then right off the bat,
okay. If it
you're
fails,
in trouble. Right.
The city gets. So we kept quiet. The city kept quiet. I know I took a lot of heat during the primary over it, but you know, do I think a transfer station would help the city? Absolutely.
Right.
Do I like that location? Not really.
Okay.
You know, because the downtown, we really need to do in the city is widen 309 and Broad Street because it will be becoming too congested. So, but that area where the proposal came, that's almost 25% of the city back there. So some way we need to be able to access that area in the future. It might
Right.
not be this year, 10 years, 20 years from now, but at some point,
In order for
when
things to grow.
when the strippings are cleared and they start filling them in, there's going to have to be a way to get some kind of infrastructure
Something
back there.
Yeah.
You know, so, but, you know, the way garbage cost is going right now, a transfer station would benefit the city. I'm not too keen on that location,
Right.
you know, but we can't stop somebody from putting in an application.
Where are they at with it?
It went to DEP. DEP came back with some restrictions. I have not met with anybody in months over it.
Okay.
But I don't know if they're going to meet their
Right.
you know, the
But
concerns.
you have to do the thing.
But see, the thing is, like, so we're presented with projects all the time.
Right.
So if I came out and said, and we support everything. If you're going to come to me and say, hey, I'm going to build something, I'll give you my support. Come back when it's ready,
Yeah.
and then we'll make a decision on it.
Right.
You know, but there's so many like pipe dreams out there that come and, you know, we're going to do this and we're going to do it. If I would report on every one of them, you know,
Your day would be consumed.
it'd be crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, but you want to make do something, go ahead. And when it comes time to make the decision, we'll make a decision.
Right.
You know, but you know, there's a lot that go into it. It's not, and like I have no say. The mayor has no say whatsoever on what goes there.
Oh.
That's not part of my job. Like
So that's all about the council.
Well, the
You
council,
couldn't approve or disprove that.
the mayor cannot.
That transfer station.
No. And
Oh, well, that's a
Real-
huge thing for everybody to know.
yeah, I have no say in the matter. And it actually counts. So the way it works is when you put the zoning ordinance together, you have to put every use somewhere in the city. So all the uses that nobody really wants around their homes or in residential area, you throw in the general industrial area.
Mm.
And that's where transfer stations fall and, you know, unpopular items.
Yeah.
You know, so it just so happens that a section of our city, center of city, is general industry. But it doesn't even fall back on council. So council, that zoning ordinance, when it's written, it goes to the planning commission, the county planning commission. Then it comes back, you know, then we do approve it after getting the recommendations of all the other, so that council approves it. So now it has really nothing to do with the mayor or council. It goes by
First, they have to clear all those
it has to
hurdles.
clear everything. So if it comes back, you know, DEP could look at it. DEP will give their suggestions. Then it could go to the zoning board, and they could put in stipulations on if it's there, this is what has to happen. You know, you can only have an access from somewhere else. You could, but I don't think it's going to happen there.
That location, yeah.
No, I don't believe there'll be one inside proper. It's the city proper.
Oh.
I think there may be one in the future somewhere in the vicinity of Hazleton City, which will benefit us, except for tax dollars.
You're not going to get the revenue, but the benefit of having it.
The benefit of the city is the garbage. So I mean, everybody across the country right now, garbage has doubled to triple. And the cost to get rid of it is more the manpower to move it. So you get 4 guys coming to collect your garbage. Now, when they were making $10 an hour before, it was costing $40 an hour to pick up your garbage. Now it's, you know, $20 an hour. So now you're paying $80. You know, I heard you talk about this before. The whole supply chain.
Go to Taco Bell, man. I hear it all the time.
You know, you're paying more for gas to get it there. Now you're parking in line, so you're paying 4 guys $20 an hour, and I'm sure $20 is not the real number, but you're paying that.
They're not making $20
to wait.
They should be probably
to wait in line to dump the stuff, then drive all the way back to Hazleton. So we're paying for all that dead
time,
prep. You know, it's like a restaurant, dead prep time.
There you go.
Yeah,
So very familiar.
I think it would be beneficial to the city to have a transfer station.
Where's the dump now? Where's the dump?
We don't have a dump.
We don't have a dump. But where is it? Where do they go?
I believe some stuff is taken to Tamaqua Transfer, and then I don't know if they take it to.
Oh shit! I remember back in the day when I was a kid, my dad would go into the dump.
There was.
Where was that?
That was Hazel Creek Project out there, where right off 309. The city dump was down there.
Oh, I remember going there, man.
That was before my time.
Sorry.
But
all right. Well, I think we covered a lot of stuff. Very good. I wish you luck.
Thanks.
I say I don't endorse anybody, but I've never voted for anybody but a Republican in my life. Maybe one time in Nashville, that was a mistake. Phil Bredesen was the mayor of Nashville, and we used to do his cars. I had a detail shop, and he used to let me do his cars. Very wealthy guy. He was part of the whole hospital clique thing that happened, HCA or something down there. I think he sold for a couple $100 million, whatever he was doing. But anyway, real wealthy guy, and then he got to be mayor, and he was, my biggest thing is abortion. That's my thing. I just don't. First question I usually ask somebody when they ask me for their vote is pro-life or pro-choice. And if you're pro-choice, I'm out. I'm out. So that's where I fall. Without saying who I'm voting for, that's where I fall. So thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks.
And I hope to see you soon.
Take care.
All right, buddy. You too.